Hi, everyone, and welcome to Strong Core. I have the pleasure of sitting here today with Caitlin Thompson, which I've been following on Instagram for a while and truly enjoyed seeing her spirit almost on flame, just growing bigger and bigger. Before we started the interview, I asked her, "Is it true? This is what I'm noticing." And she said, "Oh, yeah." So I think we're going to talk a lot today about the fire within and how to not just maintain it, but how to keep it growing and declare, I'm going after it. That's kind of what I observed and checked before, and it seems like that's what's going on, among other things, probably for Caitlin. So thank you for coming. Thank you for
Of
taking the time.
course. Thank you for having me.
And I thought we'll start with the usual kind of for all the listeners who don't know you, and I actually also don't know your behind the scene, behind the bike and the pool story. So a little bit about yourself, whatever you'd like to share about your family, if you're working, where you're living, high level, so people to get to know you a little bit better.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Caitlin Thompson. I have three children. I have a 13-year-old daughter, a 16-year-old son, and an 18-year-old son. How I'm old enough and crazy enough to have an adult child is beyond me. And then I have a husband. He is a pediatrician, and we live in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Great. Do you currently work?
Don't. So I used to own my own bakery, and then lo and behold, I was diagnosed with celiac disease, which prevents me from, eating
Yes.
gluten and baked goods. So my career kind of went out the window with that diagnosis. But at the same time, that was kind of when I was really going to pursue my triathlon career. So it was kind of like this nice segue, so that I could kind of more fully immerse myself into triathlon at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw it out there, and I hope that we'll go back to it kind of as we transition the conversation. But I wonder if we have some parallel path. For me, I was in corporate world for many, many years, four kids, and I remember when I was just even playing with the idea of leaving corporate job. Even my husband, I think, was a little bit mortified. What are you going to do? And I was like, I'm going to find other things to do. I have a dream to do a triathlon. I didn't know about Ironman back then, and I wanted to do a PhD. And my story, and I'm wondering if this is similar, we're going to get there, is I felt like I wanted to, not needed, to swap those identities so there's not a void there of I used to have, a title in a company to I have other things. I'm not just taking things out of my personality, if you will, my identity. I've added other things that are filling me up. So I don't know if this is a similar story
Yes.
where,
Very
yeah,
similar. Very similar. I just felt like I had put all of my eggs in this basket of owning my own business, and it was like getting really successful. Like I felt like I was kind of on the brink of like, needing to hire more people and, being this businesswoman that, and it really did fill a bucket for me of I can be successful. I can do my own thing. I think having a husband who goes through medical school and residency and like seeing him pursue these big goals, I just never wanted my kids to think that like my husband was the only one who could do big things. So when that was stripped away, I was like, well, shoot, like I'm definitely gonna, go after this next thing that was really starting to like set my soul on fire. Like I love triathlon, and I was feeling that almost like gravitational pull towards endurance sports
so
at
let's
that
take
time.
a step back there. I totally, my heart, I feel like in all of those stories, I'm finding sisters of my heart. There's so many similarities, I think, in that. For the listeners who don't know, there's this concept called the hero journey by Joseph Campbell. A lot of movies, including Star Wars, are mimicking that. Journey where the hero goes out there to the world, have to fight demons, then he gets some help, then he finds himself and go back and kind of gives back to the community. A researcher took that very famous story and journey. It's a psychological journey, and call it the heroine journey. And I think what I'm finding in all those stories of Iron moms and endurance mom is the heroine journey. It's their ability to join something masculine. That's the story of the heroine, right? They join, and what's more masculine than Iron Man,
Right,
right?
right.
Losing some part of themselves to become stronger and being among men, and then something in life challenges them. It could be motherhood, it could be loss of something, like even if it's by consent, leaving your business, leaving corporate America, that kind of breaks things for them. They go on that journey. They have helpers along the way. It doesn't always have to be the husband, by the way. There's other helpers,
Right.
coaches and community, right? And then the story of the heroine is not just coming back to the community. It's coming back to herself and connecting with the feminine parts of her. So I think it's a long story. I'm sorry if I bored the listeners, but it's a long story. I think this is why each of those stories I'm saying, you're a sister of my heart. Like, I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
and what it felt for you. So I'm going to put it back with a question for you. Take us back to, were you an athlete before you become a mother? What kind of sports have you done? And then when did triathlon and Ironman got into the picture?
Sure. So I definitely was an athletic kid. I did track and cross country and swim team in high school. I was never very good. I was just kind of like, mediocre, but like really enjoyed being active. And then I got married very young and had babies very young, and really did not do anything. I was at that time a member of a very high demand religion who placed a lot of emphasis on motherhood and staying at home, and really like that was my identity and what I thought I should do. And it was very patriarchal in that they, like kind of wanted like these traditional gender roles of like the husband works and the mom stays at home. And I really bought into that narrative for, I don't know, a good 12 years of motherhood and like supporting my husband on his medical school journey. Um, I also gained a lot of weight during that time because I was, pretty like inactive, and, had three babies kind of back to back. And my husband was gone a lot. We didn't have money. There's no gym. Like I couldn't go to the
Yeah.
gym. And so it honestly started as like a weight loss journey for me. I was tired of the way that I looked, and like wanted to, get back to like some athletics. And so I kind of went on a weight loss journey. I took a job at the YMCA because they gave me a free a free gym membership. And yeah, just started this journey of like getting fit. Um, and at the time, one of my good friends here in Michigan was training for her first full Ironman when we were moving away after residency.
Hmm.
And she's a person who, um, like she just thinks she can do whatever she puts her mind to. And I was like, this girl's crazy. Like, she's so crazy. I can't believe that she's gonna go, run 140.6 miles. So we moved away. And at the time, my brother was living in Hamburg, Germany.
Hmm.
And I went out to visit him and his wife, and we were walking the streets of Hamburg, and he's showing me around, and we stumble upon
Ran
Iron
Hamburg.
Man.
Thought so.
And it was towards the end of the race, so there were finishers coming across the line, and the emotion on their faces, some of them were crying, some of them were limping, some of them, like it just looked so incredibly difficult. And I had this moment, like I'm just sitting there crying, and I had this moment of like, I have never done anything in my life that has brought me to that point of, wow, like I just did that. And really pushing the physical limits of your body and mind. And I was so drawn to it immediately. Like I wanted to do it.
Yes.
And so honestly, like probably a week later, I signed up for my first Ironman 70.3.
Immediately, wow.
Yeah, I just like kind of jumped right into it. I had not been on a bike. I hadn't swam in many years. So luckily it was, a full year away. I think I signed up in June or August, or I'm sorry, July or August, and it was in June. So that's how I did it. Like I was just so inspired by watching the Ironman and just wanting that feeling that I saw when those athletes came across the line.
Yes.
So
And
yeah.
did you get it in your first finish line?
Yeah, so I did 70.3 Coeur d'Alene, and it was way harder than I could ever imagine, and it was so humbling. I literally finished it on a $200 road bike. It was just, it was bad. Like looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I attempted that with the gear and the minimal knowledge that I had. But that finish line meant everything. It was so amazing. And then, of course, the next year, I signed up for the same race and I brought two other women with me. And the next year, I signed up and I brought three other women with me. It was just like this, like, you have to do this thing. Like, it's so cool. And, eventually that snowballed into I need to do a full. And it's just been an evolving process of what I want for myself in this journey.
I just
Mhm.
want to validate what you said about if you saw a friend back then, it seems impossible, but the idea was there. And then you brought a friend, and then you brought more friends. And again, in each of the interviews that I had done, doesn't matter even what distance, but it's usually the endurance where it's a little bit hard to make that leap. There was always, and I've said it in other interviews, so you'll hear me probably again if you're following along with the podcast. It's always someone. It could be a spouse of one of your girlfriend, it could be a mom or another mom, someone at work, someone at the gym, but someone who kind of gave their hand and said join me, and you
Yeah.
were crazy enough to join. And so I think if there's a takeaway here is the power of either join someone when they are calling you to join the journey, or if you're already on that journey, just offer to someone. You'll probably hear a lot of time you're crazy, there's no way, but
Right.
someone will agree to join you. And we know that the numbers are declining, and so it would be so great to see more women on the start line.
Yes.
It depends on the race, and specifically about moms, I would say, because when you register for a race, it's male, female, right? They don't know how many of them are dads or moms. But we know many are fathers.
Yeah.
We see a lot of wives standing, Sherpas and cheering. It depends on the race and how hard it is. It's between 10 to 25, sometimes close to 30% participants women, so even less than that mothers. And so
Right.
anything we can do for each other to reach out and encourage mothers and women to join the journey, I think we're doing each other a favor.
Yeah, that's a huge passion of mine is bringing more women to the sport, encouraging them, showing them. I think, a lot of the reason that my story resonates is because I am not I wasn't a collegiate athlete. I wasn't a high performing athlete. I think I've come from a place of like true beginner, and just worked my way up
Yes,
to the place that I am. And
yes.
I think that's the reason that a lot of age groupers at least can relate to my story.
Absolutely. That's what grabbed and why I wanted to bring you here. I've seen you through the years. You started as an average age grouper, and then we're going to talk about what changed. Where was that fire coming from? But I don't want to say all of a sudden. I definitely saw the change, but you started to believe.
Yeah.
I can and I will, and I'm seeing it in the work that you're putting in. At what point you just named yourself? I was a beginner. I wasn't even an athlete before college or during college. I became a fitness mom, if you will,
Mhm.
and then got into the. At what point do you remember you started to call yourself an athlete?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, there was a point, probably 5 years into the journey, that I was just in the bathtub late one night, and I, for many years, had said that I don't care about how fast I do it. I just, I only want to cross the line. And there was a moment where I was like, I am such a liar. I'm a liar. Like, I'm lying to myself that that's all that I want. And I think it was this moment of being truthful with myself about where I wanted to go and being willing to get there, because at the time I was even hesitant to hire a coach. I didn't want um to have any pressure of like letting people down, um and honestly like investing in myself too. It felt selfish, and I think that goes back to some of my roots of like, I don't deserve to do this thing because I'm just the mom. So yeah, I think probably 5 years in, and I like immediately, I was right then and there, I emailed somebody locally, my first coach who I'm no longer with. I emailed that person right then because I didn't want to talk myself out of it again.
Hmm.
But I think it was that moment where I was like, I actually do want more. I want to be an athlete. I want to be a competitor. And that's kind of a difference between, just being an age grouper that wants to finish and actually wanting
Yes.
to compete.
I'm hearing the language around it is compete or complete.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm in the complete. I think I have a imposter syndrome when it comes to even declaring where you are at. And I just love that leap that you took. And so maybe you can tell us what changed. You talked a little bit about 5 years into this where I'm an athlete, I want to compete, but I feel like something else happened within you, just watching you in
Mhm.
the last maybe 2 years or so, a year and a half, where you absolutely turned up the heat.
Yeah, I think, well, part of it is that I hired the right coach. Um, I before did not feel like the person I was with saw me going to the world championship or saw me on podiums or whatever. And my current coach, Kayla, she's so invested in me and like true belief in my capabilities. And I think that bleeds into like what I believe about myself. Um, but also, so I've gotten really close to these goals and missed them several times. Um, but I realize how close I am. Like it's so close that I can like smell it, you
When you
know?
say these goals, just for the listeners, what are we
Yeah.
talking?
I really do want to qualify for the world championship, and I've missed it by two times. The first time, it was one of those things where like my race really fell apart and I didn't perform well, and it was devastating. But in Florida, ran a sub 11 Ironman, and I was the third in my age group and 11th woman overall. And
And
I
just so the
still,
listeners know that top 10 are qualifying for World Championship.
yeah, so it was again this, well, and there were issues with the new system that they had in place where men were kind of taking the vast majority, if not all. So at my race, the men took all of the world championship spots for age groupers, which was devastating. Um, but after talking to my coach about like, of course I'm sad, but we can flip it around and be like, whoa, like this goal is so within my reach and it's so within grasp, and like my past three races, I've ended up on the podium in fifth, third, and third. So these things are happening for me, and it's so exciting. And it's just, I feel like once you have the momentum, you just gain more belief. And when you have that genuine belief, then the performance comes through. It's when you start doubting yourself that your races fall apart. And I think that's what happened in Texas this past year, where I did miss um, my slot, because I things started to fall apart, and my belief in myself and my capabilities also fell apart
During the race or before?
during the race. I just felt it slipping away, and I was so hyper focused on that world championship slot and like the race result that I was not even focused on what I could do in that moment to salvage my race and my day. So, yeah, I think
So what changed? I'm always so interested in the mindset and I guess the sports psychology side of. So what changed in the other races? Do you do let go of the results, the
yes.
expectation? Ah,
Yeah. So, and I worked really hard with Kayla on some mindset coaching about being so present in the race. It's when you let your mind go to race results that you don't get the result. It's so funny because it's when you are hyper focused on the result doesn't come. And so, really letting go of the result and really diving into the process, being super present and not letting my mind wander. So, for me, that looks um like during the run, I'm only focused on the mile I'm in. I don't even think about, mile 20 because I'm on mile 4. And that really salvaged my Ironman marathon. I was able to run, a great marathon time at Ironman Florida just by changing my mindset.
I think I mentioned in other interviews and their podcast that I've done that my son is an athlete, is going D1 in wrestling, and one of the biggest thing I've learned along the way, watching him, what he's learning about mindset is, and he has it written all over big in his room, is execution over expectation.
Yeah,
So staying in the
absolutely.
moment, execute what you need to execute. That mile, that swim, and don't think about, oh my God, I have 12 more hours today until I'm
Exactly.
going to cross the finish line, which is really hard to do that. I love swimming. I'm a swimmer. That's what got me into the sport. I was like, I'll deal with the rest of them later.
Yeah.
With the other, well, little did I know that the other legs are so much harder than the swim. But the
Right.
swim is supposed to be my happy place. And I found myself needing to learn how not to say, oh my God, this is just the first 20 minutes. I have like million more hours to go. So
Yes.
to stay present. You have to execute this swim. Very important. So working with Kayla, your coach, on mindset, staying present, staying in the mile that you're in was helpful. But also you're saying, declaring to myself, I deserve, I can. It sounds like a lot of, in the literature we call it self-efficacy. It's kind of the belief in myself, the idea that by the way, my mantra, I don't know if you have one, so you have a minute to think about it, but my mantra that I love is I can and I will. And so during
Yes.
races, I'm not as experienced as you are, but during races when I'm feeling like I'm about to fall apart, I just keep saying it to myself, I can and I will, I can and I
Yeah.
will.
That's very similar to, I think Kat Matthews said, I am able to try, I can try, I will try. And I've repeated that to myself before too, because, I think before races, we get so, at least I get so nervous about what my performance might bring. And the only thing you can do is try. And all of us have good races and all of us have bad races. And
Yes,
sometimes it's inexplicable why something happens and your race falls apart.
yes.
Um, but it's just that willingness to put yourself out there over and over again. And sometimes at the scrutiny of, like when I share things online, I almost feel like, oh, like, people are watching. And but like I don't owe it to anybody to have a good performance. I can only try, and that's all I can do.
Yes. You know, I'm smiling because I love that mindset. I remind it to myself, and that's why I keep trying new things, including doing this podcast. But there is this saying in the community, I think of endurance sport that are saying something like race is temporary, but the results on the internet are forever. Something like that that reminds you that actually everything you do is there. But I think that's the beauty of the neuroscience that we all are much more aware these days. The neuroplasticity, the ability to rewire the brain and say you're not a failure if the race didn't go the way that we wanted, or even if you did not finish, you learned something from it and you try again, and kind of not letting the brain believe, because it's all thoughts, it's not facts.
Yeah. And I try to remind myself, like I follow professional athletes and I see them succeed and fail, and it doesn't really change my opinion of their capabilities. Like it's just, so I think I'm harder on myself than I am, watching other athletes. I
Yeah.
remind myself that people can see my successes, they can see my failures, and just see that I'm human. And this is the way it goes. Not all races can be good races.
That's right. And I
So
think, if anything, for me as someone who's watching on the side, seeing the fall or the mishap, if you will, and the ability to rise up, that's resilience, right? To get up after things went not the way you planned. That's really what I'm after in people, not those who consistently perform. I mean, I admire them, I love watching them, but what I'm inspired more by are those who fail and stood up again. You mentioned the way you were brought up, earlier in the marriage, the religion, and kind of the society that had different expectations of mothers. And then you changed the narrative for yourself, which I'm applauding you for.
thank you.
Was there, or still is, any guilt related to societal expectation or people around you that are seeing what you're doing and saying, isn't it enough? Like, don't you want to spend more time with your kids? Don't you want to spend this money on vacation with the family instead of, I don't know, going to Kona by yourself? And I'm not leading with the question. If you don't experience it, by all means, not all moms experience guilt.
Yeah, no, I definitely felt guilt. And I think I have felt some scrutiny from certain members of my family community who still identify with that religious group and like kind of those more traditional roles. I have felt that they look at it as selfish. And, it's coming to terms with a new belief system for myself, but sometimes my mind does slip back to some of the things that I was taught in my youth and growing up about my identity. And I have to try really hard sometimes to shut that all down. And I think I do a pretty good job of it for the most part. I genuinely believe that I am deserving of this journey and the time and the resources that have gone into it. And what I like to think about is what I want for my daughter. What do I want for my daughter? And I want those same things for myself. I don't think that all of my doors were open to me as a younger girl, or like when I was, in college, or um I don't feel like the world was open to me because of the belief system and because of a lot of the expectations of me. Um so I just think about my daughter and what do I want for her and what do I want her to believe? I want her to believe that she can do literally anything that she wants to do.
Oh,
So I
I didn't
train.
ask it in other interviews, but I'm curious to ask. I have four boys, so I never had the pleasure even to think about role modeling for a girl.
Yeah.
In an interview I participated in, the host asked me, "Do you think mothers for girls are doing it for that reason more so than boys?" And I said I couldn't tell by my research, because many of the moms were just had mixed gender. So when they say I want to be a role model for my kids, or even if she said I want to be a role model for my daughter, she also had other kids. here I'm hearing a distinct, this is for my daughter, and you have three kids, right? So I assume
Yeah.
they're boys. I can make assumptions about what you're saying, good assumptions on why is it so important, the mother-daughter role modeling, but maybe you can speak them out loud.
Sure.
Why is it that you're calling out specifically the role modeling for the daughter more so than the boys?
Yeah, and it's not that I don't
Right.
want to be a role model for my boys as well. I think there are some shifts that I have made in terms of what I expect of my boys as well. I expect them to want their wives to pursue more if they choose to get married, or their daughters or whatever. Like, I want them to have a different narrative as well. But I think specifically I have felt it's hard to say, like, I feel like I was very ambitious as a child and as a teen, and I feel like it was really stifled. And some of some of the fire that I have now, I think I've always had it. It just was like squandered and squashed, and it wasn't given life, you know? So I think just feel so responsible for making the shift for my daughter. I
Beautiful.
think that I feel the weight of that, um, like opening the doors for
I was
her.
just doing this with my hands, and as you said, that opening the
Yeah.
door. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't want her to ever feel the way that I felt.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think my boys' doors, I see it. I mean, and like my husband and my brothers, like I feel like their doors were much more open. And we see that in Iron Man
They
too.
enter the room in a different hallway than we do.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I never had the opportunity to ask because my study
Sure.
wasn't specifically about mother-daughter or role modeling for daughters. And when you said
Yeah.
that, my curiosity went there. So thank you
Yeah.
for explaining. And I, by the way, never assumed that you don't care about the boys, but
I
there was
think it's
something.
just,
Yeah, there's something extra special, if you will, extra weight that you're feeling in role modeling for her. Continuing with, I guess, this thread of being in control, paving the way. When are you at your happiest?
yeah, I think my happiest moments come from doing something I didn't know that I was capable of doing. Whether or not that's a training day, whether or not that's a race, um, I love that feeling of I didn't know that was in there. And it's just exciting and validating. I think particularly post race, because, my family's usually there, and it's like this celebration of like all the hard work
Yeah.
and all the days that nobody really saw. But yeah, I love exploring my limits.
Do you have a memory that you remember in particular that you were at your happiest? It doesn't have to be
Um,
race related.
yeah, well, I mean, one of my happiest moments was at Ironman Florida this year. It was my day was executed to the best of my ability, finally. I
Hmm.
think after so many tries of like, this isn't going well. And I had so much support that day. I had, you know, one of my best friends and her husband flew out from Michigan, and they were all over the course, like all over the bike course, and they rented bikes and were all over the run course. And
Wow.
my in-laws flew in from Texas, and my aunt and uncle drove up from Tampa, and it was just like this celebration of the goal was accomplished, but like people I love were there and supporting and just there for me. And also at Florida, I felt this because the number of women that were on course was so low,
Yeah.
and because we all kind of knew that we were going to get screwed out of our world championship slots, all of us, I have never had that kind of camaraderie on course ever. Every single woman on course was cheering for me and vice versa.
I
We
love
were
it.
so like it was just this united front of women showing up and showing out and doing the thing that we love.
I love
And
it.
it was just an incredible day.
You just made me happy, so I totally understand what happened to you that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And on the flip side, or the other story of it, what does a hard week looks like when you barely get through it?
Yeah. Sometimes I think particularly during an Ironman build when the amount of time, the amount of training that I'm doing is just very overwhelming. I still love it, but some weeks get very difficult when I feel like I am failing in other areas. I'm not able to, get to the grocery store and prepare nice meals, and I'm showing up to things ragged, and I think those are my hardest moments of, am I doing this thing at the expense of my family and at the expense of the comfort of, you know, them? And I just, that's when the guilt comes, and that's when I feel really low.
Yes, I think where I felt the guiltiest was during the Ironman build, and I chose a end of summer race, and I remember my kids would ask, "Can we go on a Saturday? Can we go today to the ocean?" I said, "No, I have a long ride." So they're like optimistic and hopeful, and I said, "Okay, so can we go tomorrow on Sunday?" And I was like, "No, I have a long run," and I felt so guilty, and I felt so proud that I learned somewhere from a psychologist that said, I guess as a person in general, but particularly as a mom, when you put boundaries and someone else on the other side is disappointed, you know you put the right boundaries. And so
Yeah.
and so I knew that putting those boundaries were right for me to be able to get through another week, right, of another build towards an Ironman. But I felt the fact that I disappointed them. So I
Yeah.
told myself, note to self, don't do Nair at the end of the summer where their entire vacation, you say no
Right.
to them. Um,
Yes.
but
I've learned
again,
the same thing with race strategy when you pick your race. And I have to pick races that I build while my kids are in school. It's just key to me feeling okay
somewhat of a
about,
balance.
yes, keeping that balance of my kids are happy, I'm happy, there's harmony in our home, just keeping everything nice and
How,
level.
on a busy season, I don't, are you racing right now towards preparing for
Yeah,
a race?
so I'm signed up for 3 halves and 2 fulls. So it's gonna be a busy season. But I kind of stacked my fulls towards the end of the year, so my kids will be back in school when I do all those long rides.
Which
So
races are you signed up for?
yeah, so I'm signed up for Ironman Chattanooga 70.3. And then I will do Michigan's Titanium 70.3, which is just a local, it's a great little local race. And then I am, before that, actually, in July, I'm going to race as a guide for an autistic athlete. And we're going to do, I think, Ironman Muncie 70.3. And then my two fulls are Ironman Maryland in September and Ironman Florida in November.
Oh, you're going to love Maryland. That's the one
Yeah,
I'm doing. I
I'm
love
so
it.
excited.
Hopefully, you won't have a lot of jellyfish,
I
like we
hope not.
did.
I had some jellyfish in Florida too, and I was just like, well, I hope I'm not allergic. Just keep swimming.
I'm trying to portray a picture for the listeners who obviously get from you. You're busy, 3 kids, all of them still in the house. How do you structure your days and stay consistent?
Yeah, so I do most of my training in the morning. Um, it's really nice because I live very close to the high school and the middle school. So my kids just walk to school. My husband is up with them in the morning, so I don't actually need to get up and see them off, which is so helpful because something I've struggled with a lot is my sleep. So to not have to set an alarm and um, just really prioritize like my body's natural circadian rhythm has been huge. So I usually wake up around 8 and eat breakfast, and I'm out the door by usually 9 o'clock. I usually train from at least 9 to 11, depending on, I mean, of course, depending on what type of race I'm training for, sometimes much later. There are days though that my kids walk out the door to school and I'm training and they're home from school before I get back,
You're
and
done.
that's
Yeah.
just
Do
the
you
way it
usually train
is.
at home, or you go to, obviously pool, you go to the gym, but for the rest, the
Mhm.
run and bike, you go to a gym, or you do it at home?
It depends. I mean, here in Michigan, I unfortunately spend more time on the bike trainer than I would like. So I do have a trainer and I have a full gym downstairs, which is great. But otherwise, I will go cycle outside, run outside. We have great trails here. So I try to keep it like fairly close to home. I don't have to travel far to get anywhere, which is great. Um, but yeah, and then I try really hard to be home when my kids come home at around 3 o'clock. And I we live so close to the high school that our house is just buzzing all the time. There are so many kids here in and out, and I've tried really hard to create like a safe environment for everybody. I mean, like our pantry is open, they're taking snacks, and just trying to really connect with my kids and their friends. And um they're just great too. They're curious about what I'm doing. They ask what I'm doing. They ask what my training was. One of my son's friends brought me like this giant bag of gummy bears because he saw that I was eating gummy bears on my bike. And it's been fun to kind of share that with my kids' friends. But after school is a lot of activities. All of my kids are involved in sports and music, and so it's a lot, but fortunately, two of them drive now. So,
Yeah. Oh, this
yeah.
is such
Yeah.
an upgrade in life. I
Oh,
mean,
it's so nice. Yeah. So I only have to drive my daughter to her activities now. So, but yeah, I mean, it's still a lot. I try to support every activity as best I can. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, we're just going until about 8 o'clock at night. And
I
then
get it.
it's, yeah, by that point I'm like, I need
Do
I
you,
need a snack.
when you miss a workout, I was about to ask, do you ever miss a workout? Of course we do. When you do, what's your philosophy? Are you feeling guilty about it, that there's going to be a red dot? Are you lenient with yourself and say it's okay today, but tomorrow I'll make up? Or is your policy, okay, tomorrow I'll do double? How do you
Yeah.
deal with missing a workout?
Yeah, so luckily it doesn't happen a lot because of how efficient I've become. And because I think like a good coach puts you in a position where you do hit most of your workouts and it's fine. At this point, though, I don't even worry about it. I don't stress about missing workouts. We travel quite a bit, and I don't stress about training while we're on vacation. I try to be really present. So honestly, like if there's a red dot, there's a red dot, and I don't try to make up. I think former Caitlin would have done that, because I would have felt guilty. It's just like evolving also means learning that fitness doesn't disappear overnight, and that listening to your body and skipping a workout is perfectly fine, and just being learning to be smart, I think, too, because I think sometimes the best thing you can do is skip one of your workouts.
Yes, I love it. And I asked a little bit of a leading question here, I know, but I wanted the listeners, those who are struggling, because I used to be like this until I couldn't anymore. For me,
Yeah.
and you said something about protecting your sleep. Someone in one of the Facebook groups for women in triathlon asked, "Has anyone did a PhD in an Ironman together?" I'm thinking about it. There were a lot of answers, and I think there was only one person that did it, and it was me.
Yeah.
There were a lot of answers. I did half. I did it. There was kind of variations, but nobody did. And my answer was, which just showed me how insane it was, because for me, really, I became sick. Let me say it this way, before I answer what I answered at the Facebook, because I didn't protect my sleep. I
Yeah.
was staying up at night where it's quiet to think and write papers. when your brain is so busy, it takes you hours to fall back in sleep, and then you have to wake up and do your workout and take care of the kids, because in our household I'm the one doing this. And so I was so sleep deprived, put into it post menopause. I was so sleep deprived that I don't think there was a way out of it other than just completely pausing to recover. I
Yeah.
really, I drew every, took out every any possible. My answer to this lady was, it's totally possible. Anything is possible, right? We learned that, but you will have to protect fiercely your sleep and recovery more than
Absolutely.
anything, more than doing all the workouts, more than, although it's important, stretch and mobility, more than anything. If I learned out of it, and my biggest mistake was I didn't know how much I needed to protect sleep
Yeah.
and recovery. So this is a big
Same.
tip for you guys listening.
Absolutely. And part of the process, I used to wake up at about 4 in the morning to go to the pool. And I was just really grinding it out, thinking that I was doing what was best, and always hitting the numbers. And I was always injured. I was always injured, always dealing with, you know, hurt muscles and just extreme fatigue.
Get it.
And it wasn't until I shifted to, we're just going to work out later in the day and we're going to go to sleep, and also eating. Something that I am really passionate about is I make our family a nutritious dinner every night. And it is a huge time sacrifice, but it's also investing in myself and what my body needs to recover. And also the fact that my kids are athletic, and presenting them like a nutritious meal it's a gift to them. It's a gift to me. And I just can't emphasize how much sleep and nutrition have made a huge difference in
So
my
this is the nitty
performance.
gritty of a mom to mom. I get the where you put the training in, right? Driving kids, I do the same.
Yeah,
Making fresh meals, but for me, even just going to the supermarket twice a week to buy the fresh food, it just takes. I know it sounds,
it's
when I say
very
half
time
of the day, it does
consuming.
take half of the day. You pick up the dry clean and all. When do you do that? Do you do it only on the weekend so you have food for all the week, or do you like twice a week? Give yourself like 15 minutes. I want to know all the details.
Yeah. So when I am at my busiest, I actually have invested in a grocery shop, like Instacart,
Nice. Mm.
grocery delivery, because it does take so much
So much time.
time. It is, and I have big kids now, so they're eating like adults, and it's a lot of food. And so on my busiest weeks, I use Instacart, and I just have the groceries arrive, and then I feel more able to prepare the meal. Um, but week to week, I typically go grocery shopping on Sundays, when after my workout, and when my husband's home and is hanging out with the kids. So, but yeah, it's that has been a recent development as well with me doing grocery delivery,
Yeah.
because
It's
it's
such a
just such a
small
time
shift, but
suck.
it's such a small shift, but it's even this ability to let go of, I'll choose the tomatoes.
Yes,
Someone else
I
will,
know.
and it's okay.
I'm
And
like, who chose these? These are terrible. But I didn't have to go, so
I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
There's three more questions I wanted to touch before
Sure.
we bring it to a close. I ask everyone because this is the question that makes me lean forward and know more. What is your why? Why are you keep doing this? Someone from the side might say, you've done a bunch of these, you've role modeled to your kids that mom can do hard things, you've achieved happiness. Why you keep doing this? Why not do something else?
I think the answer to that is just a genuine belief that I haven't reached my limit yet. I haven't reached what I'm capable of yet. And I think what I'm capable of, it may shift, but I still think there's more in me, and I genuinely believe that.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's your why. And then when your kids are watching you, what do you think they're taking away? What are some of the lessons? You touched on it a little bit, and even their friends. I love that.
Hope that what they're I hope what they're taking away is that they don't need to be afraid to try. They've seen me not do well. They've seen me, from the beginning. And I think the fact that I just keep showing up, I just want them to know that whatever path they choose in life, if they keep showing up, they're going to get to where they want to be. I don't care what path it is, whatever they feel passionate about, if they keep doing the things and like putting their heart and soul into it, they're going to get there.
And the last question I always ask before the rapid fire, ask every Iron Mom is, what advice would you tell a mom that is considering entering triathlon, or maybe in the shorter distances, hoping to get into the longer distances, but is afraid of the commitment? Maybe she's not ready, maybe she doesn't have it in her, but she's interested. What
Yeah.
advice do you have for other moms like to try this sport?
You're never going to be ready. That's the thing, is you're never going to be ready. You're never going to feel like, oh yeah, like I can totally go run 140.6 miles, no problem. I think it's just showing up even when you're scared. And I think the amazing thing, the thing that I didn't know was going to happen, was the crazy amount of support that you get from other women in this sport. I cannot even tell you the amount of time that has been invested into me and the amount of encouragement from other women. I genuinely believe this is unlike any other arena. I've never seen it anywhere except long distance triathlon. This group of women who genuinely want other women there. It's not a threat to us to have more women and more competition. I want more competition. I want the best women around me. And I think that that is a across the board. That is what women in Ironman want. They want more women there.
So
Like,
don't
we
wait.
want you. If you're interested, we want you.
Yeah. What's a good place to start? You jumped into the half. I can
Mhm.
tell the listeners that my best way, after I did an Olympic, I did sprint Olympic, and immediately I was like, I want to do half Ironman. I went and volunteered in a half Ironman, and when I saw, and maybe that's where it started for you, because you see everyone on the race, every body type, every type of person you can think of is on the course, and you say to yourself, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
That's my tip, to say just start, because there's someone like you out there on the course.
Yeah. That's funny that you said that, because my first thought was go watch one. Go watch one. I think you cannot help but be amazed, inspired, awed. I just think the amount of people who are able to do this, like you said, there's every body type. My first half Ironman, at the time, the body marking was a thing, so
Yes, I
there
was
were
about.
8-year-old man past me.
Yeah.
78, and I'm sitting there on my bike and I'm like, that's crazy, like no way.
Yes.
um and it was like also really humbling, but I am so inspired by the other athletes on the course that that would be my biggest recommendation to anybody who has like even a glimmer of interest. Like, go watch it, go be inspired, and then you can't help but want to be like that. Yeah.
Such a great advice. Yes, I agree with you. And I jumped in the middle, and I'm sorry about that. But for those
No,
who are
no,
maybe
you're
new
fine.
to the sport, few years ago, until a few years ago, on your cuff, they would write your age group, your specific age, not age of group. So in
Yes,
US,
yeah.
there would be 50 something, 60 something people ahead of you or passing you, and you would be like,
I
"What?"
know. And it's just at this point, I love it when I see somebody, especially a woman, at Michigan's Titanium last year. I was passed on the bike course by, I think she was like 55. And they did body marking, so I saw her age, and I wasn't even mad about it, because as somebody who's still, I've got 17 years till I'm 55. That is encouraging to me. Like, if she can perform like that, so can I, you know?
Amazing.
So
Yeah. Yes,
I love
absolutely.
seeing older athletes, and if they're performing well, it's just honestly, yeah, encouraging to me that my best years are still ahead of.
Absolutely. It sounds like it. And at the show notes, I will include your Instagram handler for anyone interested to see what a flame that keeps growing looks like.
Yeah,
Definitely in
thank
your
you.
story. All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer all those long questions. We're going to transition to the rapid fire,
All
where
right.
I'm going to ask you a few short questions and just answer with whatever comes to your mind. There's no right or wrong. One word, or complete a sentence. And if something just doesn't click, you can just say, let's move on.
Okay.
So, solo workout or working with others? I want to ask why, but I can't right now anymore. One word as a mother.
Involved.
One word as an athlete. What grounds you?
Hmm. Friends.
Hmm. And what pushes you?
Think my internal something inside of me. I don't know what the word that I'm looking for is. But something inside of me.
What is something that you're still figuring out?
Gosh, I don't know. That one's hard. There's a lot that I'm still figuring out. I think parenthood,
Yeah,
especially parenthood, sorry, this is not rapid.
it's okay.
Parenthood of adult
Adult. Yes,
children.
yes,
This is something that is I am really learning to navigate. It's
yes. It's
different.
almost like parenting 2.0. And I think once the
Yeah,
kids are, I'm not there yet, but when the kids get married and have their own kids, that's another type of parenting and
absolutely.
grandparenting. So more to come, to
We're
hear.
shifting. Yes. Yeah.
What's the best advice you ever got?
The best advice I ever got. Um, oh, when I was training for my first 70.3, I met a man in the pool who had an Ironman backpack, and we started talking, and I was telling him I was training for my first, and he told me, you are going to fall in love with this sport and it will become, a part of your life forever. And that has, maybe it's not advice, but it was just like this, like, golden nugget of believe that it's going to be better than you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
And that has stuck with me for all of these years. I still remember that.
Okay. I love it. Now finish the sentence. I feel most like myself when.
When I have accomplished a really big goal, a training day, a really long bike ride, I feel most myself when I have stripped myself all the way down to just this raw energy. Yeah.
I get it. And last one, my kids finish this. My kids would describe me as.
A go-getter?
I love it.
Yeah.
Caitlin, thank you so much for joining me today. It's such a pleasure getting to know you and your story behind the pictures. There's so much you can learn, from Instagram and visuals, and there's so much more in the narrative. And I truly think I found another new friend.
Absolutely. I'm so glad we could finally connect and, chat in real life.
Yes, same here. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.